Oh, well then it's on me. Hold on. Yep, it's on me. Ah, now you're back. That was weird.
They go down!
Which knife to use?
Patrizio Durino!
Fine. Everything is fine. There we go.
Said it the one!
I'll try to make this.
You have had the chance to see a star die. Spots of cold, lifeless darkness cover the fiery form of the Lantern King, growing, devouring, and with a dull moan, settling onto the ground in a cloud of cold, black dust. But a moment later, right where the eldest crown lay burning, another shining image is born. It grows, glowing, turning into a familiar silhouette, wearing a crown.
Defeat. What a refreshing feeling. I don't remember sensing it for a dozen millennia. But what's next? How will you end this story? Listen, I know a good ending. Elegant and refined. The hero defeats a deity in battle. Impressed, it grants the victor power and immortality. The hero enters the chambers of the deity to become his champion and herald. Eternal, powerful, equally glorified both in the first world and in Valeria. Her kingdom healed from its wounds and flourished under the rule of the immortal champion. A beautiful ending, isn't it? And this legend is yours for the asking.
Trust the laughing lie. Don't do this. Not after everything you and I have endured because of him. I can give you immortality and power, though not as much as the Lantern Kings. Perhaps we won't be able to stand against the eldest, but accept my gift and my patronage. And together we will make him pay for what he's done.
How sad it is to hear you, Nihilissa. Thousands of years for nothing! You haven't learned a single lesson. Never learned to atone. But what do you say?
Are you sure I can't kill you? I'll think I'll try.
Did I tell you I don't like dying? Well, I don't. Perhaps we should stop this pointless exercise and speak seriously?
And I don't want to take anything from anyone. That's... Fine. If I can't kill you, I will not bow to you, eldest. Don't get your hopes up. Here's my offer. Lift the curse. Return my kingdom to Galarian and forget we exist. And I will forget that you exist. After you speak, silence falls, deep as a chasm. Light pours from the eyes of the Lantern King's mask, still the mask of paternal care, though you do not mistake this for what lies hidden behind it.
So be it. This performance has run its course. It would be unwise to continue. Besides, have no love of dying, returning to life. My fellow eldest are very good at playing especially intricate pranks at that exact moment. You were cursed by my will. By my will, you are now free from the curse. May shackles be broken, fetters be loosened. What's been stolen will be returned. What's been divided will be made whole again. I say farewell, and release your kingdom to the material plane. Go, be glad of your ordinary mortal life, and forget the gods of the first world. Now they no longer concern you.
Now that the eldest and other spiteful beings wouldn't be bothering us, the queen returned to her subjects and celebrated the victory and the end of the kingdom's miseries with great fanfare. Everything gradually returned to normal, including our exciting lives. Not always peaceful, but also not troubled by invasions from another world. And little by little, our heroes and the common folk began to forget the sorrows of the past. Sometimes, on clear spring nights, the queen saw dreams. In them, the nymph Nyrissa, fierce and wounded, battled the Jabberwock, died, and returned to life, again and again and again. Under the wise leadership of the queen, the stolen lands became a true country. There was still much to be done, of course, and some of it will need to be finished by our heroine's descendants. But there are no longer cut purses on every corner, and the peasants aren't afraid some new self-proclaimed chief will show up and strong-arm himself into power.
No, I didn't save Nerissa, and I don't think she deserves it. Actually, I think this is good. She killed so many people. I did not save her, no. I didn't want to take anything else from her. No, I think this is fine. If that's what it is, that's totally fine. She killed Lindsay. I needed my revenge. I have my revenge. She could have helped me, but in the end she offered me power and all kinds of stuff. Just the same as the Lantern King. So no, I would never go with that.
The queen firmly eliminated banditry in the stolen lands, to the delight of the long-suffering locals, and brought peace and law to the area.
Law?
That peace didn't last long, however. A jolly gang appeared in the Gnarl Marches, claiming to fight the tyranny of the queen for the good of the common people. The stolen lands are called the Land of Popular Rule, for in these lands, common people feel fully in control of their fates. Unfortunately, the total absence of authority allowed one of the richest regions of the kingdom to proclaim itself an independent republic, and retrieving those territories came at a rather high price for the queen. Just half a year after the war with the First World, Gault moved its troops to the southern border of the kingdom. Their attack was rebuffed. The enemy state's infantry could do little against soldiers who were skilled with their swords and knew the military arts better than the alphabet. Since then, Gault hasn't risked crossing any borders again, fearing cruel retaliation for further insolence. The feud between Brevois North and South, which had been smoldering for ages, finally sparked the fires of civil war. Our troops lent aid to the forces of Restov, led by Sword Lord Jamandi Aldori. After several bloody battles, House Sertova was forced to recognize Restov's independence. The victory came at a high price, but we have no more loyal ally than once more free Rostland. Kasil Eldori, who lost an arm during the war, became a permanent ambassador of Rostland at our court.
He lost an arm? Oh, the poor guy. Okay, well, this is good, I guess. Not the arm, but I mean that this is okay. Not as good arm, I hope. Oh God.
Led by careful, level-headed Dugath, the Tiger Lord's tribe reunited and started to lick the wounds left by the erratic Armagh. Little by little, they once again became one of the strongest mercenary armies in the region. Dugath always assured our queen of his friendship, but the queen always stayed on her toes, understanding that anything could happen when that old fox is around. Pitax almost returned to its former state, a joyful city filled with beers of dubious quality and deals of questionable legality. The old trade houses lost the crown, but they retrieved the property Iravetti had taken from them. Soon, Pitax became almost like a second capital in the kingdom, a thriving city through which rivers of money from across the region ran. Unfortunately, we get much less of this money than we would like. Governor Liachenza turned out to be helpless against widespread embezzlement.
What? I knew Pitax was trouble. Yeah, well.
Self-administration turned the Academy of the Arts into a strange place. The court sycophants were quickly ousted. It turned out they weren't welcome when there wasn't someone like Iravetti constantly ordering odes to themselves. In their place came a motley, unpredictable crowd. Eccentrics, fashionable authors of popular prints and cheap novels, charlatans, scribblers with delusions of grandeur, as many as 3 feuding experimental theaters, and even a few truly unappreciated geniuses. The Academy is not only highly esteemed, there's no place like it, even in Absalom.
Okay, well, fine. This is what Pitax deserves, I guess.
Halgolka, the Troll King,
Yes!
still lives in the Stolen Lands. Amazingly, he managed to bring his savage kin to heel, even organizing trade with nearby settlements of ordinary citizens. The common folk aren't exactly excited to have such neighbors, but they'll settle for trolls who've switched their menu to forest game and the cattle people sell them.
Ah, yes.
After enduring so many storms and troubles, Varnhold eventually turned into a real city. Daring settlers decided to conquer the vast, wild expanses of Dunsword, and despite all odds, they succeeded. The modest colony that almost vanished at the hands of an ancient lich turned everything around to become a thriving city with lively river trading.
Nice.
Agay, the Spriggan leader, learned a valuable lesson after surviving his meeting with the Queen and even regaining his tribe's home. Don't try to occupy seemingly empty settlements anymore. Instead, the Spriggans settled across Dunsword's wild borderlands and proclaimed it as their domain. Keeping the peace in a situation like that seems like the stuff of dreams, as evidenced by the occasional lost patrols and stolen cattle.
Okay.
Mites led by warrior Queen Bada'a keep causing trouble in the vicinity of the old sycamore.
Trouble?
They scare the fishers, hold centipede races, and drag anything they find lying about to their caves. Clothes left out to dry, dog kennels, even anvils. When the Queen visits them, they seem to calm down. For about a day. Sometimes even 2.
Okay.
Oleg's trading post continues to thrive, attracting even more travelers. Much to its owner's displeasure, a small town is springing up around it. Despite Oleg's grumbling, he and his wife are well regarded by everyone, and Svetlana was even elected town chief.
Yeah, well done, girl.
Jod remained loyal to the Queen to the end of his days, healing the sick and generously sharing his austere wisdom with anyone who wished to hear it, and some who didn't. Having fulfilled his duty to the ruler, Erastil's priest peacefully departed this world, surrounded by friends and disciples.
Nice.
Having participated in Lamashtu's ritual, Olika gave birth to a strong and healthy baby. Sadly, the child grew into an unruly and violent adolescent.
Of course.
Having maimed a peer at just 10 years of age, the boy escaped to the Gnarl Marches. fleeing the rage of a mob that tore his mother to pieces instead.
What?
No one knows what happened to the lad, but legends of Lamashtu's child, who sometimes kills lost travelers and sometimes leads them to safety, are passed on by word of mouth throughout the area.
Okay. Well, okay. What a nice story.
The lizard folk of the Longtail tribe returned to live on the shores of Candlemere, but they couldn't return to their ancient way of life. Living alongside people, the lizard folk adopted their behaviors, habits, and even religion. More and more of the Longtail tribe pray not to the spirits of their ancestors, but to Erastil or Gorum. They even began to forget their original language. I hope someone writes down their songs and legends before they all sink into oblivion. A delegation of wizards from Absalom and other areas appeared in the kingdom one day, asking for permission to examine the lair of the Lich Farniris the Thoughtful. After completing their research, the wizards spent a long time thanking the Queen for freeing the world of that monster. In their opinion, he'd been capable of causing the end of the world, maybe even 2 worlds.
Oh, well then. Yay for me.
Evindra was glad to see the Lantern King's plans turn to dust. She spent some time helping restore the kingdom after the calamity, then returned home to the First World. They say the rebellious spirit of her cousin Nyrissa awoke within her as well. Evindra is said to recount our story to the Fae, encouraging them to question the power and might of the eldest. After the victory, the storyteller abandoned his affairs and began spending a lot of time alone in contemplation. He eventually bid farewell to the Queen and left her lands. But I suspect the inhabitants of Golarion haven't heard the last of this mysterious traveler, for his own story is hardly finished.
Ominous.
Amiri remained a pariah to her native tribe, but she stayed close friends with Nylak, who ruled the Six Bears wisely and taught them to survive in the unfamiliar plains and cities. The restless barbarian would often travel for long stretches of time, but sooner or later she would always return to her old friends, bragging about new scars and recounting new feats, many of which Nylak immortalized in song.
Aww.
Harem went mad for good. Or perhaps simply understood the true wisdom of Grotus. I'm not really sure if there's a difference. He left the palace barefoot, taking only a cane with him as he went off to preach. He died destitute, somewhere along the side of the road.
What?
But they say you can still find a ghost with a disheveled beard along the kingdom's roads, mumbling something about the end of the world. And if something suddenly breaks in someone's house, people commonly say, Harem touched it.
Oh god, this is perfect. Yes. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry, Harem, but this is I like this last part. Yes. Oh, worth it.
Octavia didn't stay still for very long. Soon, she and Reg went to Numeria and started a huge slave rebellion there. They didn't manage to destroy the Technic League, but to this day, slaves speak their names with admiration, and slavers with terror. Over the course of their journey, the two grew as close as ever, leaving their quarrels and resentments behind. After returning from Numeria, Octavia settled in her mother's house and became the Queen's advisor and loyal companion.
Perfect. Yep. Perfect.
Rigongar left for Numeria with Octavia to start a slave rebellion. Over the journey, he really matured and learned to understand others, as well as how to control his anger. After he returned, he took a position in the Queen's court, Being both formidable and charming, he inspired fear in the hearts of some and lust in others. There are even some rumors that he almost talked Octavia into marrying him, and possibly even continuing the Della Fiorni line.
Well, well, well. You are most welcome. Okay then.
Tristan stayed in the Stolen Lands. Endowed with a special blessing of Sarenrae, the priest became known as a great healer and went on to perform many more miracles. I'd say the Movonic Diva deserves the right to rejoin Sarenrae's divine army. I hope the goddess will think the same when Tristan's hour comes and his soul is up for a new judgment.
Okay. Not that eventful, but okay.
Jubilost returned to the life of a traveling explorer, frequently visiting his favorite kingdom. He said so himself. His famous work studying the First World all opened with a dedication to his longtime companion, the Queen. Sometimes, during Jubilost's performances, all kinds of chaos would break loose. Viewers turned into unicorns, or would be teleported to the top of a cliff. Later, Jubilost would be seen arguing fiercely with a pretty gnome named Nerd. The arguments looked very sweet and intimate.
Oh, that is nice. That is nice. Okay. Wait, in your playthrough, Tristan vanished? Really, Little Dark Sun? Well, I'm happy that he's here. He's still here.
As for Knock Knock, apologies, I mean Hero Knock Knock, he continued his questionably heroic efforts in the Stolen Lands. Despite whatever mess he fell into, no matter the danger he leapt into, he always seemed to scrape through just a little better off than before. Like true heroes, he simply never gave up, struggling on and meeting the challenge of each new day with a spirit that no mishap or misfortune could ever quell. The slightly inaccurate statue of him and the Queen still stands in the square to this day, the two figures side by side. I've always felt that, while the heights may be a bit off, let's say it accurately reflects the size and spirit of the goblin hero who'd been nurtured by the teachings of his queen.
Yes. Just, yes. I like you.
Despite all the woes that befell the country, our queen remains a strong leader. Many noble houses from neighboring lands wouldn't hesitate to be related to her, and they regularly send a variety of marriage proposals.
Oh, well. Oh my. Well then.
As for myself, the author of this book, Lindsay, who never chose a pretty nickname, I'm still here, inside my creation within the Capitol Library. I live just like I always dreamed, surrounded by people and books, and not a day goes by without someone turning my pages. My story inspired many others to take up the quill. My readers have written many fierce books, articles, and pamphlets, flinging truth in the faces of tyrants. What more could I dream of? I hope, oh honored reader, that this story offered you some daring ideas. Or at least some entertainment. In any case, it's time to set the final period.
Applause, please.